And last but not least, well, let's talk about D Shift. Well, actually, I should say Ashton and I will talk about D Shift, right? Ricardo, you didn't see it, and
I did
I
not. I
kind of
did
don't blame
not.
you. I kind
Well,
of don't
it's
blame
not
you
that
for not watching it.
I don't know how it is, but I expect it to be about as good as Project Power. Is it?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
you hit the nail on the head.
right.
It's about,
So
it's
yeah, I
about.
tell myself I had to take my
Which is
time. But
both a good and bad thing, but
I had to do something today. I was busy with something today, so I would have watched it if I didn't have that thing. But I'd probably watch it, and I kind of enjoy Project Power a little bit. A
yeah,
little.
a little bit. Like it
Right.
didn't really do anything in terms of
Right.
reinventing the whole modern superhero wheel. And I would say the same thing in terms of, oh, it's the modern world and we're hunting vampires. That's what it
Right.
is, right? But I
Okay.
will
So
just see as a preamble, right, before Ashton does the synopsis, if you don't mind, Ashton. What this reminds me a lot of is like, it's really like these '90s, vampire action films, right? So if you've seen From Dusk Till Dawn, or I should say the real show that this reminds me of is John Carpenter's Vampires, where it's like these ragtag group of vampire hunters and they just stroll up in the day and they look for vampires and they kill them, right? And that's pretty much how they make their money, how they spend their time, right? That's what the show really reminds me of. And you could see it have a bit of bleed in it. It have some bleed stuff in it, especially with the fight sequences and whatnot. But yeah, this really did feel like a '90s vampire action movie comedy throwback film. That's the best compliment I could give this movie, right? But yeah, we will talk about whether that's a good thing or not, right? But Ashton, take it away. What is this shift about?
Okay, so Day Shift is about, as random as it gets, yes, it's about hunting vampires, right? And there is an association that um kind of foots the bill for the hunters, basically, right? Because what they do is that they provide a union for the hunters that are hunting, right? And Jamie Foxx's character, um, well, he was in the association and then he was put out of the association because they find that he lacked the finesse to to, to do things discreetly, basically, right? So now the movie follows his little storyline that's going on, and he starts the movie off on a hunt. So he hunts this old vampire, right? And then we get to find out a little later in the movie, right, that apparently the vampire that he killed at the start was actually the daughter of another vampire who was actually younger looking than the vampire he killed, right? And so it's a revenge story then from the villain's aspect, right? Because she wants revenge because he killed her um daughter, right? The movie, as you said, is like a '90s vampire movie. It is very what was that one, boy? That real famous one that was actually really good. Um
Not from Dust Till Dawn.
that's
from
good.
Dusk Till Dawn,
Yeah, yeah, that
right?
was vibes.
Yeah, it was,
That
yeah.
was vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, boy. It wasn't it gave that kind of vibes. Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg added very little to the actual proceedings, but I get it. It's Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
He was
I'll,
still
I'll I'll talk about something with Snoop Dogg. He do one real dread thing, but I'll talk about that. You
he
go ahead.
did a couple of dread things, but I mean like his character was just like, oh, okay, all right, fine. Snoop is in this
Hmm.
movie too. And that's what's gonna make people tune in to watch this if they don't like Jamie Foxx. That's the impression I get.
Right.
Right.
So yeah,
Um
wait. What are your honest thoughts on the shift, man?
Day Shift is like every other Netflix project. I find I just think that they get some big names and they do a half-ass job and they put it out there. But because it's on Netflix and it's supposed to be quote unquote free, we should be happy about it, the situation. So I mean, that just continues, you know what I mean? Nothing ain't changing there. It was lackluster. It was probably like I would say a 6 out of 10. I find the movie was lacking and it left you wanting. Like I need a little bit more story. I need a little bit more of this. I need a little bit more of that. Um, yeah, it was at the end of the day, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from, man. But what I will say, right, I will be a lot more charitable for this, right? It is entertaining enough. Like you will watch it and you will it's not like it's gonna bore you, right? It won't bore you or anything like that, right? Like it's shot very well. Like it looks very dynamic, I would say, in terms of the visuals themselves. It's set in LA as well too, so a lot of like daytime shots and whatnot, to reference the title and whatnot. So yeah, it's a very slick looking film and whatnot, though. I mean, very very technically impressive, I must say, right? Even do some really cool camera angles and whatnot, some drone shots here or there with the with some action scenes. Case in point is one chase scene where they use the drone pretty well, I must say, right? The action scenes are actually like serviceable for the most part. Like they entertain, but it's not like anything overly mind blowing. Like one thing with the vampires, the vampire hunters themselves, they have this thing with using a lot of shotguns. So there's like a lot of shotgun blasts that vampires collect, right? And the actors who they get, or I should say the stuntmen that they get to play these actors, they have a way of kind of being able to contort themselves. So like they will take a blast, and you'll see like their arms and legs kind of like fold and whatnot, and then you kind of twist themselves back up and whatnot. So if you like real into like the Blade films, you just love when a character who hunting vampires come through with a shotgun. It's like blow, blow, and it's just shotgun blast in the chest and whatnot. You will enjoy this, right? If you love seeing vampires getting decapitated, then you will love that, right? Acting is good. That's all I'll say. It good for the most part, right? Could be better, but it has really off of the that's because the poor characterization we get here, unfortunately, right? And yes, just to touch on the characterization here for a bit. You see how I mentioned before, this felt like one of those 90s throwback flicks. Yeah, you could see that in both the acting, the dialogue. You could see that in the acting, the dialogue, and the story itself, right? Um, Characters are two-dimensional. Sorry to say. Jamie Foxx's character, you know the type. He is the guy who does this thing in secret, and he doesn't even tell his wife who he's separated from, and they have a daughter, and she needs some money because this drama involving her wanted to move out to the neighborhood. So he has X amount of days to get this money, and blah 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 blah. It's like been there, seen that. Ugh, been there. It's just so cliche by now, right? A character that I know will get into under a lot of people's skins, literally. I know it probably piss you the hell off, Ashton. Dave Franco, boy, who plays Seth. I have no
Well,
issue with Dave Franco as an
it doesn't,
actor.
boy. 'Cause I really love Dave Franco, boy. I don't know what it's about that triple man, but I love seeing Dave Franco on screen. So I
All
actually
right, so
enjoyed
so
him.
so he didn't annoy you in this.
No, I mean he was the same old annoying self. If he was a Dave Franco fan, I mean you know what to expect.
Oh, okay. So he playing into a character, into character. Well, at least what we know about him as when he's on screen. Okay, but yeah, he's just the dumb psychic boy. He's the know it all who knows every single characteristics of the vampires. Right. I'll talk about characteristics in a bit too. Right. But when it comes to him actually having to throw down, he's the one who like literally pisses his pants, right? And this is this running gag with him pissing his pants every time he's given a gun and he's told, shoot or whatever it is. Like he just pisses his pants, right? And that's supposed to be funny. Haha. None of it was funny in my opinion, right? There's a few bits, like bits of dialogue where he actually shined, but I felt like he was just downright like just annoying. To the point, however, where like in the third act something happens to him. It's kind of obvious what happens to him. I'm not gonna say, but it's kind of obvious. And that was like, oh, okay, now he's being less annoying. All right. I still don't like him as a character, but all right. You know what I mean? The villain is typical standard. All right, and this is funny. Can remind me a lot of From Dusk Till Dawn, because yeah, the character is Latina, right? And it's the old vampire, and I just want to rule this area. I want to rule Los Angeles and blah blah blah, right? So they really try to make sure, like I forget the name of the show. I think it's called Queen of the South. That show from USA, where it's like this woman who becomes this drug cartel drug dealer, like this drug kingpin basically. So that's how they kind of paint she at, but in this case it's more about like realty, what I mean, like more about houses and whatnot. That's what she's trying to do. She's just basically trying to buy property so she can just have these vampires be there. That's really it, right? But still, going back to the whole 90s thing now, yeah, she is a straight up 90s villain. The way how she talks, the way how she enunciates certain lines or whatnot, yeah, she's a 90s villain, true and true, right? Hey, I forgot to mention McGill. Megan Good was in this
Oh
as
my
well. She
god.
plays,
Oh
yeah,
my
she
god.
she
I
she
love
plays the
Megan Good.
wife of Jamie, and my God, like she's 41 years old, and
And the
goddamn,
wife of
she's
Ashton.
still
Don't tell my
fine.
wife.
She's still fine. But yeah, even she and all was just, I just want you to be there for my daughter, blah, 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 blah. And it does a thing, slight spoiler, it does a thing where, surprise, surprise, she finally learns that, my husband is not a pool cleaner by day, he's actually a vampire hunter. And, after shit hits the fan and, whatnot into that, this kind of brushes it aside. Like, yeah, sure. He didn't tell me anything for like months or years now, but at least he saved me. So yeah, fuck it, whatever. Like, dude, like you now learn that you are living in a society where vampires exist, and after you go through a set of shenanigans, you're just like, well, yeah, vampires exist, and my husband kills vampires. I don't need to question him and dog him about him lying to me all these years, but whatever. It's that type of show, right? To talk about Snoop Dogg. Um, yeah, he is just being Snoop Dogg, right? What I will say though is that I like that, the fact that he's playing like a kind of cowboy, right? Because if it's one thing like with, it shows like From Dusk Till Dawn and John Carpenter's Vampires, it has a neo-Western vibe to it. So yeah, he's the cowboy in it, right? And I wish I did not see the trailer because, before I forget, the trailer gives away too much, right? Points for his portrayal, his visual portrayal of Django. I'm not talking about Django as in Jamie Foxx's Django. I'm talking about the Franco Nero original Django. When you see it, you know what I'm talking about. I was like, word, that real hard, right? So yes, Snoop get he moment, he get to show off, he get to bust shots, he get to be a badass and whatnot, right? But it's so funny that he get the chance to play a black Django alongside a black Django. Think about it. Ha ha ha. That's kind of clever. That shit's kind of clever, right? That being said, though, that's just a touch on story, right? Before I get to reading. This is a show that will stop to tell you, oh well, this is this characteristic of vampire, and they're called elders because their fangs are like this, and if they don't have their fangs, then they can't function, and blah 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 blah. They will tell you all these things, right? And they will give you so much exposition, right? So literally, Seth, for example, is an exposition dump. He's just there to tell you all these things about vampires, right? But you would think that the show itself, right, would go a little bit deeper in terms of the writing itself. Because yeah, this is just so by the numbers, it's just again, it just feels so much like a 90s film where it's all about the spectacle. It's all about, hey, I'm a badass and I could roll up in a guy's house and bust shots. Case in point, there's these two guys, the Nazarian brothers, and like they come off like these uber badasses, right? And it's this type of show that they will do a set of badass shit, Dread, and like no bruise, they will collect no bruise or anything like that. They'll just be doing all these like sweet kills, and they'll just make it look so dread, right? But it almost takes you out because like dog, like you even get a scratch or nothing like that, Dread. You just making shit look so easy, right? Implausible, but you making it look real easy, right? So it's that kind of world. But yeah, like I say, with all that attention in terms of like the vampires and the characteristics and the Union themselves, that's a group that pretty much running this whole operation and whatnot. And there's a moment involving all these protocols and all these rules and all that kind of stuff, which apparently Jamie Foxx's character is breaking, right? But you could think you wish though that they spend a little bit more time though to flesh out the story even proper. Because again, just two-dimensional characters, kind of uninspired story, kind of been there, seen that. It kind of scratches the surface. Characters just kind of do things. The motivation so simple. You know what I mean? It's like, nah, man, they could have just put a little bit more effort now. So I don't know if it's just because it's a Netflix thing. I don't know if it's just because, well, it's a summer movie. So, it's just kind of designed to not really think about it while you watch it, right? And I mean, you could watch it like that and enjoy it like that, right? Like I watched it literally yesterday, which was Saturday, and it was breezy. Like I enjoy watching it. But at the same time, I was like, nah, they could have put a little bit effort into that story, boy, and the characters and whatnot. Then it would have stand out more. Like we need 2020s, right? Like, you could, like I make any excuses on 90s throwback, but dog, like I know, like in the 90s, it had some action movies that was real standard. It didn't really care about story. But here, with all these big actors, just like put a little bit effort in that story. You know what I mean? So ultimately, didn't love the show, but I didn't hate it neither. It was what it was. Rating wise, I would give this, just a lighter, decent 3 out of 5, man. It's aight for what it is. It's aight, right? If you have nothing to do, it's one of those shows. If you just really have nothing to do, say on a Friday or Saturday night, pull up on Netflix and watch this, man. I can't say it's better than Project Power. I honestly would say Project Power have a little bit more detail as far as story goes, but Day Shift is just, yeah, typical, vampire hunting stuff and, yada, yada, yada stuff, been there, seen all that, right? But, Jamie Foxx, for the most part, holds it together. Dave Franco, even though he's a klutz, he holds it together. Snoop Dogg do eating, and, points for actually including one of his songs from, one of his albums he dropped this year, BODR, which is called Back on Death Row. He actually picked one of my favorite songs off of that album, actually, and play that in the end credits. So that was cool. Tyler Bates did the music for this, so he do his thing. I can't complain. Everybody just kind of do their thing, but ultimately it's kind of forgettable. It's kind of bland, but you'll enjoy it if you have nothing to do, right? And yeah, that's really all I have to say about this show.